Pythagorean tuning. I've been pretty much talking about it through most of this movie, so I wanted to get a little bit more in depth about what it is. On the left of this table that you see the column called ratio. Those are the whole number ratios that Pythagoras came up with. The next column over is the equivalent note. The next column is the interval, for example, diminished fifth, minor second, perfect fifth, perfect fourth, etc. And then the next one over is the decimal equivalent of those whole number ratios. So if you want to find what the note would be for a particular frequency, for example, A, if it's 432, you multiply the 432 by one of those decimal equivalents, for example 1.5, then you get the perfect fifth. So 432 times 1.5, and that frequency is the perfect fifth of the 432. So anyway, you also see that they have D as the unison number in the middle. You can move those notes up and down. Things are, shiftable. But the important thing to note is the decimal equivalent with its related interval, and that's what we're talking about. Now, in this graphic here is probably one of the most interesting I've come across in my research. It was originally sourced from Stanford University, but it's really not that complicated because all they've done is they started with the upper left-hand corner box with the 1, and then going down the left-hand side, you double it, and then going across the top, you triple it, and then the resultant numbers you see in the matrix are the product of those numbers. So you can clearly see the 432 in there. Also, just one other thing to note, that the blue box, 186,624, is less than 1% of being accurate of the accepted speed of light, which is 432 squared. One of the other things to notice is that the entire left-hand column, those are all octaves of C. The column next to that, all octaves of G. The one next to that, those are all octaves of D using Pythagorean tuning. Every number in here does that. But you don't see the 440 hertz or the 528 hertz. It's not in the matrix because it's not part of the most harmonic numbers. So when you understand the cosmic 432 and how it is interwoven throughout everything in nature, then we can reveal the true solfeggio scale. As you see in this graphic, the solfeggio is on the left, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. The frequency in hertz is in the center column, and the equivalent note is on the right. So for the first time, we're able to reveal the true solfeggio scale using Pythagorean tuning and the frequency of the cosmos. So now we come to the chakra tones. Now this isn't work that I've done. I've actually pulled this off of a CD I showed you earlier. It's called Tibetan Chakra Meditations by Ben Scott and Krista Mitchell. In there, the chakra bowls are all handmade by Tibetan monks, and every single one of the bowls is tuned to 432. Every single one of the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, eye, third eye, and crown, those are all tuned to 432 hertz. And notice that the lower chakras are all flats and sharps. The heart chakra is the C, and then the rest of the whole notes go up from there.
The reason why the 528 frequency is even closely helpful or beneficial is because it's near the 512 frequency of C, or actually one octave above C, which is 512. If you use A above middle C as 432 hertz, then you program or set all the other notes around that frequency. When you do that using Pythagorean intervals, the note of C is 512 hertz, which is close to the 528. Is also in Tibetan Chakra Bowl CD that I purchased, that you see here. These Tibetan chakra bowls were handmade by Tibetan monks, only using their hearing and their feeling for what these bowls should be tuned to. And if you notice that the C, which is the heart chakra, is 512 hertz, and it's tuned to 432 hertz as well. It is the 432 hertz scale. Using Pythagorean tuning, it comes to the 512. So the C, it is 512 hertz, not 528, based upon my research. So, what are the solfeggio frequencies, or the solfeggio code? What is the solfeggio code? Where did the word solfeggio come from? Well, there's a lot of contention about how ancient the solfeggio is. For example, some people claim that the solfeggio frequencies, or the solfeggio, originated in India around 1300 BC. But the modern solfeggio scale originated in Europe around the 11th century. And all it is a way for students to learn how to sight read music. So instead of looking at the notes and trying to recreate what that vibration would be, what the frequency of that particular note would be, and just singing, they use the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti to 7 of them teach people how to sight read music. And what this comes from, or how it starts, is whatever musical scale you're in. Doesn't matter whether you're a 440, 432, whatever, it doesn't matter. The solfege is actually you start at middle C, or you start at C on the keyboard, the note of C, and you just use all the white notes all the way up just before the first octave. So it's actually every whole tone. It's a whole tone scale. So you start off with the do at C, then you go C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And then the da or the do would be the next octave up. So this is what the solfeggio scale is. There's really nothing mysterious about it.
So here are the notes using the 432 and Pythagorean tuning for the solfeggio frequencies. And these sounds here were generated with a signal generator. And you can hear the perfect do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti sound within them. And I'm going to play what the Leonard Horowitz solfeggio scale would sound like, just to give you a comparison using the same signal generator. So as you can tell, these tones are not harmonious in the least. That's because the family number groups aren't actually frequencies themselves.
This is based on the work of 2 guys. One, Marco Rodin, who 20 some odd years ago, studying the Baha'i faith, his scripture, he was trying to decipher the great name of God and found these numerical family groups hidden within his scripture.
This is what Marco calls his mathematical fingerprint of God. Simply all it is a circle with 9 evenly placed numbers around it. If we start at the 1 and we double it, so this is what Marco calls the doubling circuits. We start at 1 and follow the green line. We go 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 8 is 16, but the 1 and the 6 make 7, 7 and 7 is 14, but the 1 and the 4 make the 5, and then 5 and 5 is 10, and the 1 and the 0 make the 1, so we're back to the 1 again. Notice how the 3, 6, and the 9 is not a part of the doubling circuit. It is the workings behind the scenes and controls the doubling circuit. It is what everything is moving around. So this is the mathematical fingerprint of God, and where we get the family number groups from. You see the 1, 4, and the 7 is all in yellow, 2, 8, and the 5, and the 3, 6, and the 9. So how this works with the doubling circuits, what Marco does is we start at the 1, and then add 6 to get to the 7, and then we go around to the 4. So it's 1, 7, 4. The next family number group is 2, 8, and 5, and then the final family number group is the 3, 9, and then around to the 6. This is the firing sequence.
We fast forward another 20 years, and a guy named Dr. Puleo discovered the exact same family number groups by studying the book of Numbers in the Bible. They're the exact same family number groups. Unfortunately, some people took Dr. Puleo's work to and the family number groups that he discovered to actually, he interpreted that to be frequencies, and they're not frequencies. And this is what I want to show you in this graphic here, where we're showing the 2 family number groups, one discovered by Dr. Puleo on the left, and the other discovered by Marco Rodin on the right. And as you can see, the numbers actually shift. Look, at least in Dr. Puleo's work, you'll see that we start off at the 3, 9, 6, and then 2 more family number groups later, or the third one actually, it is the exact same family number group as the first. It's just shifted to the right one. Okay, so what Dr. Puleo has discovered are the 3 primary family number groups that Marco Rodin discovered 20 years ago. But Marco took his discovery a lot further than Dr. Puleo or Dr. Leonard Horowitz has done, because what Marco discovered and what these family number groups are is a way for energy to flow. It is the pipeline of how energy naturally wants to travel. The numbers don't move. They shift in perspective, but they actually don't move. And interwoven within these family number groups, I have discovered the 432 and its harmonic intervals using Pythagorean tuning as well as we've also discovered various fractions of phi. So all of these modes are hidden within these family number groups, but I just want to clarify that the family number groups aren't actually frequencies themselves.
So the Palaio-Horowitz numbers are on the left, and we're starting with the 396, and we're going to subtract that from its opposite shifted pair, the 639, and we get 243, which is 432 shifted to the right. In this next one, we're going to go to the 1, 7, and 4 family number group, and we're going to subtract out 417 from its shifted pair of 741, which gives us 324, or 432 shifted 2 places to the right. In this last family number group, we're going to subtract the 528 from its shifted pair of 852, which gives us 324, or another 432 shifted to the right 2 places. So after discovering the 432 interwoven within the shifted pairs of the family number groups, I decided to do a series of matrices. And in this graphic you see a 1, 7, and a 4 over the 2, 8, and a 5, and then over the 3, 9, and the 6. So I went 1, 8, 6, and then subtracted that from its shifted pair of 6, 18, and that gave me 432, which I thought was pretty interesting, so I kept on. So I then went 4, 3, 8 through the center, subtracted that from its shifted pair of 843, and that gave me 54, which is 3 octaves below the 432. I then went down the left hand side 1, 2, and 3, subtracted that from its shifted pair of 231, which gave me 108, or 2 octaves below the 432, and one of the most auspicious numbers. Going down the center the same way, 7, 8, 9, I subtract that from its shifted pair of 897, which gives me another 108, or 2 octaves below. And one more time going down the far right, we got the 4, 5, and the 6. Subtract that from its shifted pair of 564, and we get another 108. In this one I started at the lower right with the 6, went around to the 1, then the 8. Gave me 618. I subtracted that from its shifted pair of 861, which gave me 243. I then divided that by the 432 and found out it's a minor seventh of the 432 using Pythagorean tuning. On this one I start at the lower left with the 3, go around to the 4, then back to the 8 in the middle. Gives me 348. I subtract that from its shifted pair and I get 135. Then I divide that by the 216, or an octave of the 432, and I get a number on the phi spiral. On this next one I started at the 4 and just went straight down the diagonal to the left all the way down to the 3. I subtracted that from its shifted pair of 834 and I get 351. I then divide that by an octave of the 432 and I get another number on the phi spiral. In this next graphic, I decided to shift to matrix. You'll notice that the 1, 7, and the 4 is now at the bottom, and I moved up the 3, 9, and the 6 to the center, and the 2, 8, and the 5 to the top. So what I did next was decided to take the upper left 2 and go down diagonally to the right, 294, subtract that from its shifted pair, and I get 648. And I divide that by the 432, and I get a perfect fifth. Starting at the bottom left with the 1, go through the middle to the 9 and the 5, subtract that from its shifted pair, and I get 324, and I divide that by the 432, and I get a perfect fourth. In this matrix, I shifted the numbers yet again. The 1, 7, and the 4 is in the middle, the 3, 9, and the 6 is at the top, and the 2, 8, and the 5 is at the bottom. So I wanted to see if I could continue witnessing what I was seeing with the other earlier experiments. So I then went with the 2, 7, and the 6 cross diagonal to the right, subtracted that from its shifted pair of 762, and I get 486. Divide that from the 432, and I get a major second. This one I start at the 5, go through the middle to the 7 and the 3, and I subtract that from its shifted pair, and I get 162. Divide that from the 216, and I get a perfect fourth. On this last one I start at the 5 in the lower right and go diagonally up to the left, and I subtract that out from its shifted pair, and I get 162. And I divide that by an octave of the 432, and I get a perfect fifth. So, as you can see, I have barely scratched the surface of this discovery. It's going to take a lot more work and some computer skills to really fully find the interworkings of the 432 using Pythagorean tuning and phi that's interwoven within these family number groups.